we need to go to the hospital. I think I'm having a heart attack. I can't breathe. We need to go. Please phone an ambulance. We need to go now. Hello, my name is Eve Hemingway and welcome to my channel. If you haven't already, then please subscribe because it makes me so happy to see that little number go up, because I know that I'm helping as many people as I can. So yeah, in this video I am going to talk about the controversial topic of antidepressants. So I'm from England, and as you may know, us British are very insecure. Like, that's the stereotype. We like to keep things to ourselves. We don't like to talk about depression or anxiety. A few months ago I read an article on The Guardian, and it was an opinion article about antidepressants and how Britain really doesn't like to talk about them. This article was posted on Facebook, so I was reading the comments and a lot of people were saying you shouldn't take medication, it's really bad. Like, if you want to get help for depression or anxiety, you need to like see a therapist, because medication is just a quick fix. It's not something that works for the long run. Like, once you come off them, you're just going to be back to square one again. But I do not think that is the case. Medication is not a quick fix. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks to actually kick in, and even then you might not even be on the right medication. So like, that's what people assume that medication is, that it is just a quick fix. They were assuming that anyone that takes antidepressants is only taking them because they can't bother to see a therapist. That's what I got from the comments anyway. But yeah, I'm actually here to talk about the benefits of medication. I've had a number of different medications. I used it in conjunction with CBT, so I was getting the therapy and I was in the medication as well. When I went to the doctors, I was told I would be on the priority list for CBT. Even though I was on that priority list, I still didn't get my first session until 8 weeks after I had gone to the doctors originally. So when I finally got to my therapist, she was like, what do you want to get from this counselling? And I was like, I want to get off this medication and I want to just be normal again without having a medication. So that got us onto the controversial topic of medication, and she actually asked me, how many doctors do you think there are that take medication? And apparently they are the ones that take it the most, because they are the ones that prescribe the medication and they know that it does work. They kind of get out of that uncomfortable zone of talking about it, and people think that's really annoying. Like, it's like a sweet shop. You can go to the doctors and then they just throw out medication at you. Because doctors are on a lot of antidepressants, then they are obviously more likely to prescribe you them. I have a friend that's also on medication. It took her a while to finally get that medication. She went in and talked about her anxiety, but they didn't prescribe it. And she's actually said about how her doctor seems really disconnected from depression and from anxiety. Obviously this doctor wasn't taking medication, so think again when people say that it's just like a sweet shop. As long as the doctor is actually offering you a referral for counselling as well, or for CBT or whatever therapy works best for you alongside the medication, I think that's great, and I think you should just accept the medication, take it whilst you're on the waiting list. Once you get to the therapy, that's when you can start talking about maybe coming off it. So I'm going to talk about the 3 different types of medications that I have been on, and I'm finally on the one that works for me. So the 3 medications I was on was Sertraline, Mirtazapine and Citalopram. So about 8 months ago I started taking Sertraline, and when I first started taking that, within the first few days I felt the effects of it. Every single day of my postnatal depression I was crying. I think I only had a few days where I didn't cry since having Edward. So I would cry as much as he cried, basically. As soon as I started taking this medication, I felt as if it was a huge emotional block and I could not cry at all, which obviously was good for me, because then obviously if I wasn't crying or if I didn't feel the need to cry, it really helped me, and I was kind of glad that I could feel the effect from the day that I started taking them. But another thing that I felt was quite paranoid. I never really had anxiety before. I only really had the depression. Anxiety was something that I have actually experienced since getting over my depression. I think that has a lot to do with this medication. So about a week in to taking my medication, I ate a chilli, like a pretty spicy chilli. It was made by my dad. He puts way too much spice in those chilies. So I was in my house and I was eating it, and then I felt as if I couldn't swallow it. I drank so much water to try and get this like chilli down, and it just felt like a huge lump in my throat that I could not push down. At this point, Edward was getting ready for his nap, so I took him upstairs to put him in his bed, and then like my heart just started beating faster and faster, and I was like, oh my god, like what is this? So I got out my leaflet in the Sertraline packet. I was reading through the symptoms and the side effects, and it said heart problems, and I was like, oh my god, I think I'm having a heart attack. I literally could not breathe. Like, I was panicking so much. My heart was racing. I was getting so hot. I felt so dizzy. I just collapsed onto the floor. Edward was just like looking at me like, are you okay, mum? And then I shouted my mum to come upstairs, help me with Edward, because he obviously still wasn't asleep. So she took care of him, but as she was taking care of him, I was still there, and I showed her the leaflet and I was like, Mum, I'm taking this medication. We need to go to the hospital. I think I'm having a heart attack. I can't breathe. We need to go. Please phone an ambulance. We need to go now. And she just looked at me on the floor like, no, Eve, we're not going to the hospital. You're just having a panic attack. Just try and calm down and try and breathe. Here's some water. And I was just like, no, like, why don't you believe me? I am having a heart attack. I think I'm gonna die. Like, and then I shouted my dad from downstairs, and I was like, Dad, come upstairs. Mum doesn't believe me that I'm about to die. And then, so my dad just came upstairs. He just opened my bedroom door, and he just like looked at me crying on the floor, and he was just like, and then just went back downstairs. But yeah, and then it just turned out that I had heartburn from this super hot chili, and I was obviously having a panic attack because I thought that it was a symptom of this medication. I would never have had that panic attack if I wasn't taking this medication, because one of the side effects, as well as heart problems, is anxiety. Even though this is a medication for people that do have anxiety as well as depression, it just seems stupid that that would be one of the side effects. So as I've just said, one of my friends also takes this same medication for her anxiety. But yeah, the benefits that she feels makes her mind less anxious, and it really helps her with panicking. So if she has a panic attack, the medication really helps to kind of block that. As I say, medication, some are good for others need to find something else. So that's what I'm going to go on to next. So when I actually started therapy, a few weeks in, I noticed a lot of the things that I was complaining about for that week was mainly the side effects from the medication. So my therapist was just like, you either need to up your dose, like what my friend did, and that really helped her, or you can change your medication completely. But the thing is with that, you're going to have to come off this sertraline and then go on to another. So I was like, right, I'm gonna go to the doctors and see what they say. When I went to the doctors, I told her a few things about how I was feeling. One of the things was that I have always, for my whole life, even when I was a baby, my mum will always say that I was the worst sleeper. I actually find it a lot better now, but I'll make a whole other video on that because there are a lot of things that I learn through therapy that help me sleep. So the doctor said an antidepressant that is really good to help you sleep is mirtazapine. So I was like, oh my god, that is perfect, that is what I need. But obviously the only thing was that I needed to come off the sertraline first, so I just halved my pill each day. A week later, I was going to take it that morning, but I wanted to talk with my therapist first to see what she says about this medication. And when I got there, I was like, oh yeah, the doctor prescribed me mirtazapine. And she just looked at me and she was like, no, like, why did she prescribe you that? That's an emergency medication. And that is because the side effects are so bad when it comes to mirtazapine. So she said when you start taking it, a lot of people that have, so the average is like people take it for about 2 years, and the average weight gain from that is 4 stone. So 4 stone in 2 years just from this medication, because you crave carbs. Like, I wasn't really too bothered about weight gain, but I mean 4 stone is a lot. But and then I says, like, the reason that I want to take this is because the doctor said it's really good for sleeping, and she said that it is, because you're meant to take it on a night. It's like a sleeping pill and it just knocks you out. But she said she has a lot of people that she sees, because they've come to her because they've just come off this medication, because they cannot actually sleep at all. They find it so hard to get to sleep because they've been on this medication for 2 years, and once they're off this medication they can't naturally just fall asleep because it's a medication that's been putting them to sleep all this time. That day after my therapy I went back to my doctor's, and then she prescribed me the medication that I'm still on now, called Citalopram. I haven't had any negative side effects whatsoever. Bearing in mind I am actually only on 10 milligrams, and my therapist did actually tell me you either need to come off it or you need to up your dose, because 10 milligrams is just a starting point. Like, you're not getting the full effects of it. I just said to her that, because this is like coming up to the end of my sessions anyway, and I was already feeling a lot better, that this medication, for me, it was really good, even though it was only a low dose. But obviously when it comes to medication you can just stop it. That's a really bad thing to do, because you, depending on the medication obviously, you can get really bad withdrawal, and you can actually be worse than you were before you even took the medication. It's recommended for you to come off the medication from 6 months from the point that you feel better. So say I felt better in January, I would come off it in June, even though I feel fully myself again. So yeah, I actually should be off it in a few months, and I will actually give you an update of coming off it and whether I had any side effects or withdrawal from that, or how I'm feeling at that point. We never know, I might sink down to the bottom of that black hole again, but fingers crossed I don't. Overall, I think medication needs to be talked more about in Britain. Obviously the stereotype of British is we do not like to talk about things. Depression and anxiety are the 2 main things that people do not like to talk about. So an artificial product made to fix these things that we don't like to talk about, that is just like way out of people's comfort zones. I think people take the negativity from what others say about the medication, and they say do not take this, like it's just a quick fix or whatever, and these people haven't even tried the medication. So I think it's really important to actually, if you're gonna take medication, then listen to what people have said about it that do take it, like doctors. You should just say to them, what medication are you on? And they'll probably give you a big list of the ones that they've tried and now they've succeeded by taking whatever they're on now. But if you do take medication, I definitely recommend getting therapy as well, because that is something that will, like with CBT, it helps change the way you think, and I definitely think that, well, I know that that has helped me completely. I had other effects from this medication as well. I just didn't want the video to be too long and I didn't want to bore you with all them, but I will actually leave them in the description below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.